For the past 2 to 3 weeks, we have been removing metal debris from under the sand of the temporary 2017 hurricane dump. The debris was covered with sand to contain the huge fires from a few weeks ago. The buried debris, consisting mostly of old zinc and other metal materials, are being shredded or crushed in preparation for export off-island. Early Monday morning, flames started to flare as hotspots in the buried debris were exposed to wind and air. The fire was controlled within 45 minutes, as toiled sand was still on location and the fire department's immediate response, which I thank them very much for. As a preventive measure, we are collaborating with the fire department to continuously wet the areas exposed to air. In an update provided by NVGBE, all districts are now restored with electricity. It may still have a few homes that are without electricity due to safety reasons, such as homes that are rebuilding and homes without roofs. Customers affected by this are asked to contact GB once their homes are repaired and ready for reconnection. Post-Irma, there were a total of 53 projects in various areas placing cables underground. There are approximately 200 underground cabling projects remaining of overhead cables yet to be placed underground. The plan is to execute this over a 2 to 3 year period. In a GB Water update, 7 out of the 15 water tanks were damaged during last year's hurricanes. Material to repair the tanks arrived in late December last year, and work started on the repairs of the Cahill tanks, as those 2 tanks have a total capacity of approximately 7,500 cubic meters. 1 tank is already completed and is being put into operation this week. Vrommie's roof repair program is scheduled to start on the first 4 homes within the coming week. The 4 recipients of this relief are pensioners and mentally challenged applicants. A delay was experienced as we changed from purchasing the materials from overseas to purchasing them locally, which will have a positive effect on our local economy. Monday, I met with most NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, in reference to home repairs that they will be carrying out. Our ministry was updated on their respective post-Irma relief efforts. The White and Yellow Cross is concerned with relief of their clients who live in their own homes, and they have already started repairs on those damaged homes. The Salvation Army will be supplying material for the roof repairs with a budget limited to 5,000 guilders per roof. They do not have a budget designated for contractors to carry out the repairs. The Department of New Projects at Vrommie is looking into a possible joint venture with the Salvation Army whereby government can supply and finance the contractors. This will be dependent, of course, on our ministry's budget. The St. Martin Development Fund is successfully working on approximately 110 homes, and the Adventist Development Relief Agency, or ADRA, is supplying materials and skilled laborers who are working solely on a voluntary basis on Sundays. This is to repair homes that have qualified for assistance. Red Cross will be assisting residents mostly in the Dutch Quarter and the Middle Region neighborhoods, as they were affected worse by the hurricanes. They are due to start in the first week of April. United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, aims for 150 homes to be fixed. They will start in the last week of March or the first week of April. A challenge brought forward during the meetings with the NGOs is that there's a shortage of contractors as well as skilled laborers on the island. We would like to continue to reach out to contractors to apply at the NGOs as well as at Vrommie for various home repair programs. Skilled laborers can sign up at VSA or the Labor Department.
And I would like to start today's press briefing on an encouraging note, as we recognize our togetherness once more and our resilience during the St. Maarten Doet activities on Friday and Saturday last, as they organized their annual mass volunteer event. Over 2,000 volunteers on St. Maarten joined with other volunteers over the entire Dutch kingdom to give time, talent, and community spirit to complete 108 projects. I would like to thank the volunteers that assisted with the projects geared towards repairs and improvements for the sectors that I am responsible for as Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport. The fact that more than 24 projects were organized for these sectors confirms that we have a shared vision about the importance of this sector and the activities that they perform for our society. I also commend, of course, the members of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport that joined St. Maarten Doet for their participation, whether as individuals or collectively as a department or a division. A huge congratulations to the Doet organization for another successful year, and I encourage us all to continue to show our resilience as a people and keep the spirit of helping our neighbors and fostering close community ties, especially as we continue on this recovery phase. It should even be considered, to my opinion, to continue with the spirit of volunteerism in the interest of recovery and reconstruction. A once a month, a day of volunteerism might be something that we should encourage and support, because that would help to continue with the spirit of the cleanup, the beautification and the innovation of the initiatives that we've seen in display over the last weekend. And to continue on the subject of recovery and reconstruction, as this is of course considered one of our main tasks as interim and now demissionaire cabinet, and as mentioned therefore by Minister of Finance, Minister Verrier, at last week's press briefing, indeed there has been a second advance made available from the insurance policy disbursement. Together with the Council of Ministers, we have emphasized the importance that a significant portion will be allocated to the repairs of schools. This is a positive step for which I'm grateful, as I think we all recognize how important it is that these repairs be done as soon as possible in advance of the next hurricane season. The first batch of repairs include work on 8 schools, and we have decided to concentrate on securing the perimeter of these schools, so therefore including the works related to the windows, the doors, and the roofs, and electrical work that combines with it, as that is a main priority considering the sensitivities related to shortfall of funds. Communication has been ongoing with the appropriate school boards, and we recognize that some of the quotations need to be adjusted due to this preference, as I just explained, to focus on these parameters first. And we expect that that matter will be concluded this week, and then we will be able to release further details to the media how that will commence. Again, it is our intention that these works start as soon as possible, as the repair of schools are of utmost priority. This will be one of the avenues via which funding will be obtained for the repairs of schools, and we will decide whether the funds can be made available directly to schools and school boards so that they can have that sense of ownership and take full responsibility of the repair, so that it doesn't necessarily has to go via the government or the Ministry of Vroming. Another batch of priority projects have also been identified and approved by the Council of Ministers yesterday for school repairs via the fast-track project preparation via the World Bank Trust Fund. Together with the Ministry, I have also made sure to include priority funding for mental and overall well-being of our students, our teachers, for instance, and also to ensure emergency funding for the temporary housing needs for the library, repairs for the Fort Amsterdam, and funds for retraining and vocational education. In addition, I can also inform the press that I'm very satisfied that the urgently required completion of 4 additional classrooms of the St. Maarten Vocational Training School can start shortly after an enormous delay due to the passing, of course, of Irma and additional unforeseen circumstances related to the previous contractor involved. As mentioned, I believe 2 weeks ago in a press briefing, I've mentioned that I have the support of the Council of Ministers to have consultations with the insurance company for the government, and we've had our first meeting, which was very productive, fruitful. We've had positive outcomes in the sense that we should sensitize all schools, sports facilities, cultural organizations to ensure that they update the policy in collaboration with us. In return, the insurance company will also see how we can make further improvements to what we have in our policy to ensure that it best serves the interest of the schools and sports and other facilities such as the library. We have to make sure that indeed the $80 million insured via the insurance company of a total value of 184 million works in our interest and the various thousands of students that we serve. Last Tuesday, I was also able to hold a first meeting with representatives of the School Bus Drivers Association. I consider the meeting fruitful, as we were able to have an open and honest dialogue, which is important as we are all aware of the complexities of the relationship between the ministry, the government in its entirety, and the association. A number of concerns were brought forward by the association that range from complaints regarding fair treatment, the lack of transparency as they sense, or minimal and insufficient communication between sometimes my ministry or the Ministry of TEAT and the association. As minister, I recognize the importance of establishing and maintaining a good working relationship with the association, and therefore in that light I have requested a series of meetings to be held in the coming weeks on a weekly basis, where we could therefore further dive into their concerns, one group at a time. We could further indeed discuss and collaborate on the solutions that are necessary. The ministry, together with the Ministry of TEAT, will also inform and consult with the association about progress and preparations for adjustments of current policies and legislation for the coming years in our mutual interests. In securing the continuous safety of our school children, I recognize therefore the critical role that the bus drivers play. In addition to this, I also envision that with proper planning and structure, we can incorporate the drivers even more into our educational system by increasing the number of hours spent learning outside of the classroom. Trips to cultural sites, sports facilities, nature excursions, etc. should be incorporated more into our syllabuses, but cannot be properly executed, of course, without our school bus drivers. As our meetings continue, and more concrete agreements are identified and agreed upon, I will of course keep the general public informed via the media. As has been reported via certain media houses last week, I can indeed confirm that a teacher of the Marie Genevieve de Wever School, a public school, has been requested to stay home as a temporary measure of order, pending allegations of inappropriate behavior. This ongoing matter is currently being investigated by all relevant authorities, will be concluded soon, and as such, I will not make any further comments on this case at this point in time, except to say that as Minister of Education and as school board of the public schools, I of course take the safety and security of our children very seriously and will therefore continue to endeavor to keep our children safe. On another note, the Student Support Services Division is organizing an interactive and informative workshop entitled Stress, Resilience, and Self-Care. The objective of the workshop is to empower parents, teachers, and the general public on the resilience, its importance in stressful times, and the necessity of self-care. This workshop will also help persons to build resilience in themselves and their children and their families, and provide tips and strategies that attendees can utilize to minimize the effects of stress, also understanding, of course, that might intensify or continue to be challenging in the months ahead due to the next hurricane season. Parents and other interested persons are encouraged to come out to this workshop, which will be held on Wednesday, March 28th, at the University of St. Maarten from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. For more information, you are encouraged to contact the Student Support Services at 54-312-35, 54-312-35, or via email studentsupportservices@stmaartengov.org. As a reminder, the SSSD provides services to students referred to by the schools. These services consist, of course, of psychological services, counseling services, social work services, speech-language pathology services, educational diagnostic services, and SSSA also provides free career guidance services and parent education sessions. So I would definitely encourage the public to take note of that and ensure that once those needs for services are recognized, to make use of it. What is also encouraging, and I'm very happy to indeed inform the media and the public about the preparations for the awarding of the 2018 Culture Prize and the first ever Creative Industries Forum, and that they are in full swing. The submission period for the Culture Prize is still open until the end of Thursday, March 15th. To date, we have indeed a few submissions, and we are anticipating some more. A special effort, therefore, was made to visit the high schools on the island to especially encourage the young students. And I would like to indeed also ensure that that encouragement continues. All youth in the creative industries, please submit your pieces for consideration. To quickly recap, applicants must be between the ages of 15 and 24 and reside on Sint Maarten. Submitted works may include, but are not limited to, performing arts, dance, music, fashion design, photography, videography, music, visual arts, artworks of different disciplines, visual arts of course, makeup artistry, and literary arts. Works may be submitted digitally via email to the Culture Department of sintmaarten@gmail.com, or a hard copy can be dropped off at the desk of the Government Administration Building in a closed envelope addressed to the attention of the 2018 Culture Prize Committee. We have a judging panel of representatives from the Department of Culture, the Youth Parliament, the Chamber of Commerce, a local experienced artist, and a representative of my cabinet. At the closing of the period, submissions will be judged on originality, appeal, content, and impact. The recipient will then be announced at the next week's Creative Industries Forum. For further information, please visit our Facebook or contact Beverly May Nisbet at stmaarten.gov.org. On next Wednesday, March 21st, we will therefore also host Sint Maarten's first ever Creative Industries Interactive Exchange Forum, with an aim to encourage and fuel sensitization of the arts as a valuable contributor to the socio-economic sphere, as well as to recognize and stimulate the role of the arts in the healing process of the island, especially indeed amongst its young people. The forum consists of workshops, presentations, as well as a panel discussion. It targets key stakeholders in the field to facilitate open communication between the involved ministries and those directly executing and involved in the creative industries. The forum will be an all-day event to be held at the Bel Air Community Center. We have invited Mr. Ryan Peterson, General Manager for Economic Policy at the Central Bank of Aruba, who has a passion for sustainability, sustainable innovation, and transformative resilience. We are super lucky to have him, and in addition, we will have a very interesting panel with representatives from the Bureau of Intellectual Property, the Sint Maarten Carnival Foundation, the Department of Economic Affairs, the Culture Department, the Tourist Bureau, and artist entrepreneurs. In the afternoon sessions, we have two critical workshops. One about the future of the Culture Prize on our island, and two about the importance of the establishment of an artist guild or a trade association for subjects I'm sure that the press cares about as well. The intention of both workshops will be to dialogue on the subjects and to indeed come to some key conclusions that can be provided as advices to the Ministry of and the Department of Culture. At the end of the day, from 6 to 8, there will be an exhibition where various creative pieces will be displayed by a collection of local artists. While the evening's exhibition will be open to the general public, I am inviting them to come out in good numbers. The morning and the afternoon sessions do need to be registered for. So, I'm calling on all artists on Sint Maarten, French and Dutch side, to pre-register as seating is limited and is already filling up. Again, you can visit the Ministry's Facebook page or send an email to the Culture Department of Sint Maarten at gmail.com or call 520-5340. Those are my highlights for this week. I'm of course open to any questions that you may have or any subjects that I did not touch upon in my opening remarks. And I hope to continue to partner with the press. Thank you.
Good morning. Today I have the following updates. The Council of Ministers approved the proposal for the recovery project of VNG International, who presented the scope of their project and its activities to the Council of Ministers. The International Cooperation Agency of the Association of the Netherlands Municipalities, namely VNG International, will support the government of St. Martin in both strengthening its disaster preparedness to anticipate, adapt, provide safety and response in future disasters, as well as the process of building back better to mitigate future disaster risk. The implementation phase starts at the end of March, and the entire project comes to an end mid-2020. The themes for support have been identified jointly by the government of St. Martin and VNG International over the past months. For the coming months and prior to the start of the next hurricane season, the following activities have been prioritized by the government of St. Martin in the framework of the VNG project. Namely, the development of a disaster management manuals on various themes, the organization of trainings and exercises in close consultation with all stakeholders involved, the revision of the building norms in order to foster both disaster-resistant and sustainable building practices. During my visit to Curaçao, the Prime Minister of St. Martin, Curaçao, and Aruba pledged to foster closer cooperation between the countries. Arrangements are being made to establish regular meetings of the Prime Ministers similar to those of the Justice Ministers. Two areas of concern that were discussed were the Integrity Chamber and disaster management. As the government of St. Martin is preparing for the implementation of the Integrity Chamber and the other islands are working on their own forms of integrity institutions, it is of the utmost importance to explore how all efforts can be collaborated to possibly establish one integrity entity. Curaçao is looking at setting up the Integrity Bureau within the government organization with a bottom-up approach that puts emphasis on the civil servants and ensuring preventative measures and awareness and trainings are involved. While Aruba is looking at implementing both an Integrity Bureau and an Integrity Chamber as they see the benefits that both entities can have overall. And of course, St. Martin has opted for the Integrity Chamber, so I believe that it is vital for us to discuss perhaps having a joint entity together and see how we can assist each other in this process. In the area of disaster management cooperation, I was previewed to the evaluation report of Hurricane Irma based on the experience of the Curaçao government. Going forward, proper strategic and financial arrangements must be put in place in advance to coordinate evacuations and emergency manpower support in the areas where necessary. Thus, St. Martin will begin plans to host a disaster coordinator conference where all islands, and if possible, including the BES, will be invited to take part in the discussions with the end result of developing a Kingdom disaster management plan, setting up a Caribbean disaster management team, defining Article 36 of the statute, the usage of Aruba or Curaçao as a hub during a disaster or crisis, and the financial responsibilities resulting from a disaster. Additionally, the UNDP is here right now. They started on March 5th to evaluate the disaster of post-Irma. It's expected that those results or the assessment will be completed within 6 weeks, and of course, the public will be updated at that time. An update on the World Bank. Great progress was made with the World Bank and the Netherlands this week. We were informed by the Netherlands that the agreement between the Netherlands and the World Bank that will establish the trust fund is expected to be signed in the middle of April. The government of St. Martin is making all necessary preparations for the activation of the trust fund. The Council of Ministers has appointed an interim recovery committee with the important task to prepare early priority projects that can commence as soon as the trust fund becomes operational. More information on those early priority projects will be provided within short. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all civil servants involved in ensuring that the coordination, the legislation, and discussions as it relates to the National Recovery Plan and the setting up of the Project Bureau. I want to just thank them for their tireless efforts, and I think that it is very cumbersome, but nevertheless, we have a great team involved, and I just want to take the opportunity at this moment to say thank you as we move forward in ensuring that St. Martin progresses within this period, that we have an opportunity to ensure all of the plans, all of the legislation, all of the things that need to be implemented for when those funds will be put into the trust fund, that we can execute accordingly. So a heartfelt thank you to the civil servants. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Romeo Marlin, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing. We now go over to the question and answer session. Gramiko Wilson of 721 News, you have the floor.
Good morning to the Prime Minister. I don't know if you can answer. You are acting Minister of Justice. Okay. There is a youngster, there's 12 years, that's missing. On the Facebook, the Court of Guardianship on their Facebook page reported that he was found, but up to yesterday we couldn't get an official statement from the police, who's the correct channel who alerted the public and will close the case if it's found. The police redirect our media house to the Court of Guardianship. But in our way of seeing it, it is the police have to close it. What can you say, or what do you know about if this youngster is officially found or is not officially found?
Thank you, Gramiko, for that question. As you know, it's just yesterday I returned to the island, and I heard of the incident, but as my colleague just stated, indicated to me, the youngster has been found, but I believe that further information will be coming from the relevant entity to discuss whether or not, I don't know if they're going to give that information or that statement to the public, but the youngster has been found, and I will inquire whether an official statement can be placed in the public so that the rest of the population can know at least that he is safe.
At this time, we go over to Stephen Cerillion of PJ82 Radio.
Mrs. Good morning. I'm going to start with Minister Whiter. Its schools have been identified to be repaired. Can you tell us as to who, where are the schools, and B, what kind of a budget is attached to the repair process?
About the budget, very brief. Overall, of course, we're making adjustments to some of the quotations that, should I repeat? I should be brief about the matters related to the budget. We will consider two avenues or avenues for funding. One, of course, the matter of and the possibilities related to our insurance claim and the advances that we have received. I'm sure that you know that we've received $2 million thus far in the preparation of the settlement of our claim. And, sorry? And the other component is related to the early recovery fast track agreements that we've made related to the Dutch and the Trust and the World Bank and the Trust Fund. We have decided to allocate 1.3 million for school repairs for the fast track system of the World Bank. In addition, some priorities for vocational training and well-being and mental health. And in addition to that, some additional funds will also indeed be allocated out of the insurance claim advancements made available. Though the exact figures can only be made available once we recalculate the quotations. And as I said, we will do it on the basis of securing the parameters, which are schools, doors, windows, and roofs, and accompanying electrical work. And that recalculation has been done right now as we speak. So we hope that we can indeed start the first initiatives, that it will be in the order of $2 million, and that we will allocate it accordingly over a variety of schools that have the most critical sensitivities to secure before the start of the hurricane season. There are various school boards, the public schools, the Catholic School Board, the Seventh-day Adventist School. Those are some of the examples that we would highlight. Those are 3 school boards. And also the Swobe School with Sundial and MPC.
Thank you, Minister White. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the listening audience and to the ministers that are here present. Minister Mike Ferry, on Carnival issue, there was something that surfaced in the newspaper that there would not be no carnival. Well, the funding has not arrived as yet. Can you give us any information on that?
Good morning, Lyndon. As a very enthusiastic carnival reveler myself, I cannot begin to fathom that this Minister of Finance would stop carnival on St. Martin. And having said that, the statement that was made in the press seems to be a statement that was a rather benign statement by the SCDF, just saying up to that moment they had not heard about what the status was of the request they made of government. And then somebody embellished that by adding that Minister of Finance Ferrier did not approve or did not pay. I would like to let you and the world know that at the time that statement came out, the advice had not yet reached us. It was dealt with yesterday afternoon, and I believe it was exactly 5:05 that the Prime Minister hit the gavel and said, we have approved 350,000 guilders for Carnival 2018. Now, I'd like to just remind all those that budgets of a country have to be ready the year before it goes into effect. So the request for the financing of Carnival for this year should have been in since last year. There is an issue with regards to requirements of government. Government needs to see what has been done with the funds of the previous year to be able to continue for the next year. The financial statement, the financial year of the SCDF finishes on the 31st of December. So they cannot provide us with what we need, which is information on how they spend the money of the year before, until sometime in the year that they need the new one. So we've asked the SCDF to take into consideration to change their financial year, to have it end in the middle of the year. So in other words, have it run from July 1st to June 30th. That gives them time to complete whatever financial statements they need to provide us with in time, so that we get it in time so we can deal with the subsidy. Now, granted, as government also, we know that every year there is Carnival, so every year we will be asked to provide the subsidy or some kind of help. But in other words, For us to be able to work well with each other, we need information timely, and at the same time, government needs to go through the processes after it received the information it requested. So every year, it's going to be late unless we move up our time, the time of reporting. But I'm pleased to tell you, we will not stop Carnival.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier. We now move on to the second round of questions. Gramika Wilson of 721 News, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. To the Minister of Finance slash the Prime Minister. In a statement from Paul Martins after the official announcement of a tsunami warning in the Caribbean, that was some time back, he mentioned that the emergency horn system that was approved and they're supposed to purchase it. My question is this government, do they have the information of it? Did they approve it? And if they purchase it, actually, because tomorrow we're going to have a training. We don't have no horn system. It's 6 months after the Hurricane Irma destroyed them. What is the vision of this government towards that particular important item we need?
Thank you, Gromiko Wilson, for that question. Indeed, we did get information about the training for tomorrow. The tsunami system, the alarm system, is part of the overall needs of the fire department, and they have been taken up as to the early recovery projects for things that need to be done for St. Martin before hurricane season. So we have prioritized it, and of course, you know, we are in the recovery stage, and so we had to do an assessment as to what do all of our emergency services need, and that was also something that was identified, so it is going to be taken up.
And if I may add, it's part of a total listing of priority items that we insisted on getting approved by the funding that we're going to be getting, but we're getting some early help to get certain things done so that we can be ready for the new upcoming hurricane season, which starts on June 1st. And that is part of it, for sure.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier. We now move on to Mr. Steven Cerillion of PJD2 Radio.
Mr. Ferrier, staying with the Carnival subject, some 350,000 guilders have now been approved to see Carnival moving forward this year. Taking into consideration the fact that Hurricane Irma dealt such a devastating blow to St. Martin, can you tell us as to where this money is coming from? I mean, amendments were supposed to be be made to the budget. Where exactly is this money, 350,000 guilders, coming from towards Carnival?
The request was originally for 500,000, and like I said, every year government knows that Carnival is a repetitive celebration. So in the budget of this year of TEAT, of the Economic Affairs and the tourist office, tourist-related items, it has been taken up. So it was taken up in the budget, not the 500,000, but 350,000, and that has been foreseen for. So this was foreseen. We knew it was coming, and we took care of it.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier. We now move on to Lyndon Brown of BCN TV.
To Minister of Education, do you have in plan it's pending to upgrade the Met Office, meaning making avenues an opportunity for younger people to study in that area?
Interesting question. We always work with our study financing recipient procedures. and therefore also the availability of the priority list that is consulted and prepared in consultation with various departments, such as the Met Office. I definitely recognize indeed the need that we need to specialize and have indeed experts available in this area. I believe that certain careers should be encouraged. We call them the STEM careers, science, technology, engineering and math, in which this career should be seen. So overall encouragement of STEM subjects and careers should be encouraged. Overall, whether there are interested candidates for the study financing recipients 2018 that express their interest in this area, I do not know. That list will be presented shortly. And I hope that there indeed will be more candidates that would be recognized. I am sure that it would be. I don't know out of my head whether it is a priority career, but I would think so. So if you would like to have that confirmed, we can submit via the Giselle York. We can submit the priority list to you. Yes?
Thank you, Minister Whitesell. We now move on to the final round of questions. Mr. Steven Cerulean of PJD2 Radio, you have the floor.
Obviously, Minister Lee is out, so I'm going to have to direct my question to the Prime Minister, if I may. The Chamber of Labor Unions, during their press conference yesterday, advocated that the re-establishing of the dismissal committee should take place. This should be given priority to. Is that something that your cabinet is looking at closely, taking into consideration the fact that so many people are making requests for a layoff or dismissal in the aftermath of the hurricane?
Thank you for your question, Stephen. Indeed, the dismissal or mass dismissal throughout the island, we have been talking about it in the Council of Ministers, and we're trying our best to ensure that we have take preventative measures for such. As it relates to the Chamber of Labor, I believe that's their right to reestablish the committee, because we also understand that they also want to ensure that businesses and whoever are following proper procedures. But of course, we are in a situation, maybe call it a catch-22 situation, where perhaps businesses can't afford anymore to have those employees working for them. But if that is the case, as long as the employees' rights are protected and proper procedures are followed, I believe that eventually something will come about it. But I don't see a problem in establishing the committee once it's protecting the rights of the employees and the businesses as well, because we are in a grave situation right now, and it has the attention of this government. And I'm sure Minister Lee can further expound on it next Wednesday when he's here, because he's more privy to that information. And I'm not sure if that was discussed when I was away, but perhaps the Minister of Finance can elaborate a little bit more on that.
It was not discussed, but it's a matter of law. The dismissal committee is an establishment that needs to be there, and so yes, it will be done, and we will take it up with our minister and find out how far it is. But it's something, an institution that needs to be in place. It's part of our laws, labor laws. So I see no problem in if it hasn't been done, that it would be started up immediately to make sure that is done. I think the union leader who talked about it on radio this morning was perfectly correct. It is part of the process.
Thank you, Ministers. Lyndon Brown, BCN TV, you have the floor.
Minister Mike Ferrier, Minister of Finance. Oftentimes, people say that St. Martin is one of the best countries in the world. I believe such theory. Regardless to the license plate, people just want to do the right thing. Do you have a count, like how much people went in and paid for the plate?
No, I do not have a count, but I do know that I'm very pleased to say that many people are coming in and buying their plates. They want to keep their plates, so those that want to keep their number, like me, make sure to buy their numbers before the 31st of March. And we see many people coming in and doing the same thing. So thank goodness there's still some money coming into the coffers of government. And yes, people are buying plates. I cannot tell you the amount. I will bring that next week when I come back and tell you the percentage of how many plates have been sold already, how many have been paid for. I know several people have paid even before the plates were here. So it's people are enthused about new plates. I think that's a great thing.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Thank you, Minister Ferrier. Honorable Ministers of the Council. Sure.
I'd like
Minister.
to add one item. I wasn't going to say anything, but I think it's very important that we all take a look at what is happening on Front Street, on the boardwalk, and at the beaches where we have our tourists coming in. For some reason or the other, business people on the Front Street feel that it's important to have someone screaming and tugging on tourists to get them into their stores. I, for the life of me, do not understand how that could improve anybody's business. If I am a tourist, I want to be able to enjoy the place that I came to visit, spent a lot of money to get on a cruise, and then to walk through Front Street, or to walk on the boardwalk, or to be on the beach where I want to enjoy the sea and the sun and the sand. And in the case of down at the Maho Beach, the airplanes landing, and to every minute have to be like swatting off flies of people who are trying to sell me something. That's got to be one of the most aggravating ways to spend a vacation. So I'm asking the store owners that employ the folks that they have outside that scream at guests and pull them in and drag them in and make faces at them and intimidate them to stop it. Because as a government, we will take it on. It is destroying our tourism. The little bit of tourism that we have now, we want to keep it, and we ask everyone's cooperation before we have to step in a different manner and take measures that probably are not going to be liked by the people that we're going to take them against. They are jeopardizing our livelihood. That's the right word. And they have to stop it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, March 14th, 2018. For video on demand, please visit the government's official page at www.stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I'm Relika Roach, and do have a pleasant day.